Have you ever stayed in a hotel room and felt that something was not right? That someone unseen was watching you from a corner of the ceiling or behind a wall? This story is not a movie, not fiction. It really happened. In the year 1935 in Kansas City, inside a grand old building called the President Hotel, a man walked in alone. He said his name was Roland T. Owen, but from that moment, nothing about him made sense. He carried almost nothing with him, just a comb, a toothbrush, and a small brush for his hair. He had no suitcase, no coat, no companion. He asked for a small single room on a high floor. He spoke softly, never smiled, and said he did not want a window that faced the street. He looked like a man hiding from someone. The bellboy took him to room number 1046, a narrow room with pale wallpaper, a small desk, and a single bed. The man said, "This will be fine," and gave a strange smile. The bellboy noticed scars on his arms as if he had been in a fight. When he left the room, the man locked the door from inside. Later that day, the maid came to clean. She found the man sitting silently in the dark. Only a dim light glowed from the bathroom. He asked her to leave the towels and not touch the blinds. When she tried to fix the phone, he said, "Leave it off the hook. Someone is coming soon." She heard another voice in the room, a deeper voice. It said quietly, "No, Dawn, don't turn on the lights." The maid froze. She stepped out quickly and told the manager, but no one went to check. Hours passed. The next morning, the phone in room 1046 again stayed off the hook. The switchboard operator sent a bellboy to fix it. He knocked, no answer. He used a master key and stepped in. What he saw chilled him to the bone. The man lay on his knees, head down, both wrists tied, blood everywhere. Yet the door was locked from the inside. The windows sealed. When police arrived, the man was still alive, barely breathing. They asked, "Who did this?" He whispered, "Nobody did." And then he died right there on the floor. The name, Roland T. Owen, was false. The address, false. Every trace of identity gone. Fingerprints on the phone belonged to a woman, but she was never found. Reporters rushed to the hotel. The newspapers printed headlines saying, "The mystery of room 1046. No one could understand how anyone entered or escaped. The room had only one door. The key was still inside on the table." Days later, the hotel received an envelope with cash, enough for a decent funeral, and a note that said, "Love forever, Louise." No one knew who Louise was. The funeral home buried the body under that same false name, but weeks later a woman called saying, "Please change the headstone. His real name was not Roland T. Owen," but she refused to say more. Years passed. Detectives reopened the case again and again. Every lead ended in silence. One theory said the man was involved in organized crime. Others believed it was a jealous lover's revenge. Some claimed it was espionage, a secret meeting gone wrong, because the hotel had hosted many foreign guests during that time. One of the strangest clues was a note found under the bed that said, "You cannot deceive me, Dawn. I will get even." The maid remembered hearing that name, Dawn, again and again, but no one ever knew who Dawn was. Witnesses said two men were seen near the hotel that night, one tall with a black coat and hat, the other shorter wearing gloves. They entered through the lobby but never checked in. A cab driver said he took a woman to the hotel around midnight. She told him, "Wait for me, I will only be 5 minutes." She never returned. Police traced dozens of leads from different cities. None matched the fingerprints. The FBI tried to identify the handwriting on the note, but even with all their resources, the case went cold. No suspect, no motive, no weapon ever found. Years later, an old woman claimed she once dated a man who looked exactly like Roland T. Owen. She said he was not American and that he was running from powerful people. He told her, "If anything happens to me, no one must know who I am." She remembered the scar on his arm and faint bruises around his wrist, exactly as police had described. Still, the case was never solved. And then decades later, in the 1970s, a writer researching unsolved crimes found an old box in an archive. The box contained photographs of the crime scene and an unmarked envelope. Inside was a faded hotel key labeled Room 1046 and a torn piece of paper that read, "I will see you soon, Dawn." He published an article calling it "The Room with No Exit."
After the article went viral, a letter arrived at the newspaper with no return address. It said, "Stop digging. The story is not yours to tell." Signed only D and nothing more. The writer kept the letter for years, but never found out who D was. Some believe the hotel was part of the secret intelligence operation during the pre-war years. Others say it was a tragic love triangle that ended in murder. But the truth hides behind the same walls that still stand today. People who have stayed in that hotel say they hear knocks on the 10th floor, phones ringing in empty rooms, and footsteps that stop outside room 1046, even though that room no longer exists. It was renumbered years ago after guests complained of strange whispers and lights turning off by themselves. The story remains one of the strangest mysteries in American history. A locked room, a dead man, a false name, and an unseen hand behind it all. And maybe somewhere someone still remembers what happened that night. Maybe Don is still alive. Or maybe he never was a man at all. Maybe he was just the shadow that follows guilt wherever it hides. Some mysteries never die. They only wait for the right listener to bring them back to life.